The cherry blossom tattoo on her wrist caught the light as she reached across the table to refill his water glass. Adrian's chest seized. The fork he'd been holding clattered against his plate. Every sound in the restaurant disappeared. The waitress stepped back, startled. She was in her late 20s with dark brown skin and box braids pulled into a ponytail. Her name tag read Layla. The black uniform she wore had long sleeves pushed up to her elbows, and there on her left wrist was a tattoo Adrian hadn't seen in 13 years. A cherry blossom rendered in traditional ink style. Beneath the flower, 3 characters in Hangul script wrapped around her wrist like a bracelet. Forever mine. His mark. The one his father had commissioned when Adrian was 8 years old. The one that had been inked into his wrist on his 10th birthday. The marriage contract his family had arranged with the Thompsons, binding 2 powerful crime families together through their children. Layla Thompson had worn the matching mark. He'd watched the artist ink it into her wrist when she was 7 years old, her small hand gripping his while she tried not to cry. They'd been betrothed since birth. Raised together. Trained together. Promised to each other. And then, when she was 15 and he was 17, someone had burned the Thompson estate to the ground. 23 people died that night. Layla's entire family. Adrian had searched the ashes himself, found her bedroom destroyed, her body never recovered but presumed dead in the fire that consumed everything. For 13 years, he'd carried the weight of that loss. His promised wife. His childhood companion. Gone. And now she stood 3 feet away, refilling water glasses like she hadn't been dead for over a decade. Where did you get that? Adrian's voice came out rough. Too loud. The couple at the next table looked over. Layla straightened, holding the water pitcher against her chest. Excuse me? The tattoo. On your wrist. Adrian stood, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. His bodyguard near the entrance tensed. Where did you get it? I've had it since I was a kid. Layla's eyes darted toward the kitchen. Is there a problem with your meal? Since you were a kid. Adrian's throat closed. How old were you? I don't know. 6. 7. She took a step back. Sir, if you need something else. What's your full name? That's none of your business. Layla's voice stayed professional but her grip on the pitcher tightened. I can get my manager if there's an issue. Adrian's hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against the table. Your name tag says Layla. Layla what? Why do you care? Because 13 years ago, I knew a girl named Layla Thompson. She had that exact tattoo in that exact spot. And she died in a fire that killed her entire family. The pitcher slipped from Layla's hands. Water exploded across the floor. The restaurant went silent. Layla stared at him. Her face had gone pale. What did you just say? Your family name. Tell me it's not Thompson. I don't have a family name. Layla's voice shook. I was found when I was 15. No ID, no memory of anything before that. They named me Layla Davis at the hospital because I needed something on the paperwork. Adrian felt the world tilt. Found where? Newark. March 2012. In an alley behind a convenience store. I had burns on my arms and legs. Smoke inhalation. The doctors said I'd been in a fire. She touched her wrist unconsciously. This tattoo was the only thing that proved I existed before that night. No one ever came looking for me. March 2012. The month of the fire. If you're enjoying this story, like and subscribe to this channel for more. Adrian pulled out his phone with trembling hands. He scrolled through a folder he'd kept hidden for 13 years. Photos he couldn't bear to delete. He found the one he was looking for and held it toward Layla. The image showed 2 children. A boy around 10 with serious eyes, and a girl maybe 7 or 8 with wild curly hair and a bright smile. They were sitting on a stone wall, the girl's hand in the boy's. Both of their wrists were visible, both bearing the same cherry blossom tattoo. Layla stared at the photo. Her hand moved to her mouth. "That's me," she whispered. "That little girl. That's me." "Yes." "Who's the boy?" "Me." Adrian's voice cracked. "We were betrothed. Our families arranged it when we were born. The tattoos were a contract. A promise. When you turned 18, we were supposed to marry and unite the Thompson and Cho organizations." Layla sank into the nearest chair. Customers were staring now. Her manager was heading over, concern written across his face. "I don't remember any of this," Layla said. "I don't remember you. I don't remember a family or a betrothal or—" "The fire," Adrian interrupted. "It was set deliberately. Someone wanted to destroy the Thompson family. We thought they succeeded. We thought you died with everyone else. But I didn't die. No. Someone pulled you out. Left you in an alley with no memory and no identity." Adrian's jaw clenched. "Someone wanted you gone but couldn't risk killing you outright." The manager arrived. "Is everything all right here?" "Layla, what happened?" "I need 5 minutes," Adrian said. He pulled out a money clip and handed the manager $500 bills without counting. "Give us 5 minutes. Please." The manager's eyes widened. He looked at Layla. She nodded slowly. "My office," the manager said. Through the kitchen. The walk felt endless. Adrian's bodyguard followed at a distance. Layla moved like she was in a dream, or a nightmare. They ended up in a cramped office that smelled like bleach and old paperwork. The door closed. They stood on opposite sides of the small room. "I need you to tell me everything you remember," Adrian said. "There's nothing to tell." Layla wrapped her arms around herself. "I woke up in a hospital. They said I'd been found in an alley. I had burns and smoke inhalation but no ID. No one came looking for me. I spent 3 years in foster care until I aged out. That's it. That's my whole life." "You don't remember your family? Your parents? Brothers? Sisters?" "Nothing. The doctors said the trauma probably caused the memory loss. Sometimes it's permanent." Layla's voice broke slightly. "I've spent 13 years trying to figure out who I was before that night. The tattoo was my only clue. I've shown it to tattoo artists all over the city. No one recognized the style. It was done by a master in Los Angeles. He only worked for certain families. He's been dead for 8 years. So that's it then. I'm Layla Thompson. I was supposed to marry you. My family is dead and someone tried to kill me too." She laughed but there was no humor in it. "This is insane." "I know. You expect me to just believe this? That I was some kind of crime family princess? I expect you to let me prove it." Adrian pulled out his phone again. "I can have a DNA sample compared against your family's records. The Thompsons kept detailed genetic profiles. If you're really Layla Thompson, it'll show up. And if it does? Then what? Then I find out who took you. Who set that fire. Who killed your family and stole 13 years of your life." Adrian's voice went cold. "And I make them pay for every single day you spent alone." Layla studied his face. "You really cared about her. About me. You were my best friend," Adrian said quietly. "Before you were my betrothed, before any of the marriage contract stuff, you were my friend. We grew up together. You taught me how to climb trees. I taught you how to pick locks. You were fearless and funny and you never let anyone push you around. I'm not that person anymore. Maybe not. But you survived. That takes the same kind of strength. They stood in silence. Outside, the restaurant continued. Dishes clattered. Orders were shouted. One DNA test, Layla finally said. But I'm not promising anything. Even if it proves I'm her, I'm not going to suddenly become someone I don't remember being. Fair enough. Adrian made a call. Within 20 minutes, a private medical service arrived. They swabbed Layla's cheek in the manager's office. The technician left with the sample. Results in 4 hours, Adrian said. I have to finish my shift. Layla stood, smoothed her uniform. I need this job. Keep it. But take my number. When the results come in. I know. She handed him her phone. He entered his contact information. 4 hours, Adrian said. Layla nodded and left. Adrian stood alone in the office, staring at the place where she'd been. His Layla. His promised wife. Alive. Changed. A stranger wearing a familiar face. He left the restaurant and sat in his car. His driver waited silently. Adrian looked down at his own wrist. The cherry blossom tattoo was still there, faded slightly with time but still visible. He'd never covered it. Never tried to remove it. It was the only piece of Layla he had left. Until now. He pulled up more photos on his phone. Layla at age 5, missing her front teeth, holding up her wrist to show off the fresh tattoo. Layla at 10, scowling at the camera during some formal event, the tattoo visible beneath her formal dress sleeves. Layla at 14, laughing at something off-screen, her wrist raised in a wave. The last photo was from 2 weeks before the fire. She was 15, standing in her family's garden. Her hand was raised, waving at the camera. The tattoo clear and sharp on her wrist. She was smiling. He'd loved her even then. Not the way he was supposed to, not with the dutiful affection of an arranged marriage. But really loved her. The kind that made his chest ache when she smiled. The kind that made him want to protect her from everything. And he'd failed. His phone buzzed 3 hours later. A text from an unknown number, "Where are you?" Adrian typed back his location. 15 minutes later, Layla slid into the back seat of his car. She'd changed out of her uniform into jeans and a jacket. Her sleeves were pushed up, the tattoo visible on her wrist. "The lab called me," she said. "They wanted permission to compare my sample against the Thompson family records. And I said yes." She looked at him. "The results should be ready any minute. Are you scared?" Terrified. Layla's hands twisted together in her lap. The tattoo shifted with the movement. "My whole life I've been nobody. Just another foster kid who aged out of the system. Just a waitress saving up for community college. If this is real, if I'm really Layla Thompson, then everything changes. It doesn't have to. Yes, it does. Because if I'm her, then someone murdered my family. Someone stole my memories. Someone left me to die." Her voice rose slightly. "And from what I know about families like yours, that means revenge. It means justice. Is there a difference?" Adrian's phone rang before he could answer. The lab director. "Mr. Cho," the director said. "We have the results." Adrian put it on speaker. "Go ahead. It's a definitive match. The DNA sample belongs to Layla Marie Thompson, daughter of David and Sarah Thompson. There's no doubt." The line went quiet. Adrian watched Layla's face. Watched the moment it hit her. Who she was. What she'd lost. "Thank you," Adrian said, and ended the call. Layla was crying. silent tears streaming down her face. I had a family. I had parents. I had a name. You still do. They're dead. They've been dead for 13 years and I don't even remember them. She pressed her hands against her eyes. The tattoo disappeared beneath her palms. How is that fair? Adrian reached for her without thinking. Pulled her against his chest. Let her cry into his shirt while he held her. She felt small in his arms. Fragile. Nothing like the fearless girl who used to climb trees and pick fights with boys twice her size. I'll tell you about them, Adrian said into her hair. Your father was brilliant. Strategic. Your mother was fierce. She ran half the organization herself. You have two brothers, had two brothers. Michael and David Jr. They were older. They taught you how to shoot when you were 12. I don't remember any of it. I know. But I do. And I'll tell you everything. They sat like that until Layla's tears stopped. When she pulled back, her eyes were red but her jaw was set. I want to know who did this, she said. Who killed my family? Who took my memories? Who left me in that alley? So do I. And I want them to pay. Adrian looked at her. Saw something of the old Layla there. The fighter. The survivor. They will, he promised. Over the next week, Adrian mobilized every resource he had. Private investigators. Hackers. People who owed him favors. He pulled up everything about the Thompson fire. Police reports. Fire marshal findings. Witness statements. The official story was arson by a rival gang. The investigation had gone cold after 6 months. No arrests. No suspects. But Adrian dug deeper. He found financial records that didn't match up. Payments made to shell companies in the weeks before the fire. He found security footage that had been conveniently erased. He found witnesses who'd been paid to forget what they'd seen. And he found a pattern. All the money, all the payoffs, all the erasures, they traced back to one man. Richard Wu. His father's former second-in-command. The same man who tried to take over the organization after the fire, claiming Adrian was too young to lead. Adrian had pushed him out eventually. But it had taken years. Years when Richard had access to everything. Years when he could have hidden evidence. Years when he could have made problems disappear. Adrian showed Layla everything in his penthouse office. Spread the evidence across his desk. Richard Wu orchestrated the fire, Adrian said. He wanted to eliminate the Thompsons before our marriage could unite the families. He thought if you died, I'd be too broken to fight him for control. Did it work? Layla studied the documents with an intensity that reminded him of her father. Almost. I spent 2 years barely functioning. He came within inches of a complete takeover. But you survived. Yes. And I pushed him out. He died 3 years ago. Heart attack. So he's dead. Layla's voice was flat. The man who killed my family is already dead. But he didn't work alone. Adrian pulled up more files. He had help. An arsonist who set the fire. Security people who helped cover it up. At least 3 other men in the organization who knew what he was planning. Are they still alive? 2 of them. The third died in a car accident last year. Names. Adrian hesitated. Layla. Names, she repeated. Her eyes met his. The tattoo on her wrist seemed to pulse with each heartbeat. You promised me they'd pay. So he gave her the names. Tommy Han. Joseph Lee. Both retired now, living quiet lives on the money they'd made working for Richard Wu. What happens to them? Layla asked. I can turn them over to the FBI. With the evidence I have, they'll go to prison for the rest of their lives. That's it? Prison? It's justice. It's not enough. Layla stood, paced the office. Her wrist caught the light every time she gestured. They murdered 23 people. They stole my entire life. They left me with nothing. And you want to give them prison cells where they get 3 meals a day? What do you want? She stopped pacing. Looked at him. I want them to hurt the way I've hurt. I want them to lose everything the way I lost everything. Adrian's chest tightened. This was the Layla he remembered. Fierce. Unforgiving. If we go that route, he said carefully, there's no coming back. It changes everything. Good. I want everything to change. They spent the next month planning. Adrian had people watch Tommy and Joseph. Learn their routines. Find their weaknesses. And during that month, something shifted between Adrian and Layla. She moved into his penthouse, claiming it was safer than her apartment. They spent evenings going over evidence. Mornings talking about her family. Afternoons where Layla trained with his security team, relearning skills she didn't remember having. I'm good at this, she said one day after disarming one of his bodyguards in under 10 seconds. How did I know how to do that? Muscle memory, Adrian said. Your father started training you when you were 5. She looked at him. Sweat dripping down her face. Hair pulled back. The tattoo on her wrist visible as she wiped her forehead. Beautiful and deadly. Tell me about us, she said. About the betrothal. Did we want it or was it just obligation? Adrian chose his words carefully. We were children when it was arranged. We didn't have a choice. But we made the best of it. We were friends first. Just friends? You were 15 when you disappeared. I was 17. We were too young for it to be anything else. But if I hadn't disappeared? If we'd grown up together? Then we would have married when you turned 18. United our families. Built something together. Would you have loved me? The question hung in the air. Adrian looked at her. At the woman she'd become. Strong and broken and fighting her way back. Yes, he said honestly. I already did. Layla crossed the training room. Stood close enough that he could smell her sweat and shampoo. She held up her wrist next to his. The matching tattoos lined up perfectly. And now, she asked. Do you love me now? I don't know you now. You're different. But you want to know me. It wasn't a question. Adrian nodded anyway. Then know me, Layla said. And she kissed him. It was nothing like he'd imagined when they were teenagers. It was desperate and angry and perfect. Her hands fisted in his shirt. His fingers tangled in her hair. 13 years of loss and longing poured into that kiss. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Layla smiled. Still want to know me? Yes. Good. Because I want to know you too. 2 weeks later, they made their move on Tommy Hahn. Adrian's people grabbed him outside his house in Queens. Brought him to a warehouse in Red Hook. Layla was waiting. Tommy was in his 50s now. Graying hair. Still fit but softer around the edges. He looked nothing like the enforcer who'd helped burn the Thompson estate. What is this? Tommy asked when Adrian walked in. I'm retired. I don't have anything. March 2012, Adrian said. The Thompson fire. You were there. Tommy's face went pale. You helped Richard Wu set it. You made sure the security systems were disabled. You were paid $50,000 to help murder 23 people. Adrian pulled up a chair and sat. I have evidence. Bank records. Witness statements. Enough to put you away for life. You can't prove anything. That was 13 years ago. I can prove everything. Adrian leaned forward. But I'm not interested in prison. I'm interested in information. Who else knew? Who else helped? Give me names and maybe I let you walk away from this. Tommy's eyes darted to the exit. Adrian's security blocked the door. I want a lawyer. This isn't a legal proceeding. Adrian's voice went cold. This is a courtesy. Talk now and you live. Stay silent and you disappear. That's when Layla stepped out of the shadows. She'd been standing in the corner the whole time, watching. She held up her wrist, letting the tattoo catch the warehouse lights. Tommy's eyes widened. No. That's impossible. You're dead. I saw the house burn. You saw the house burn, Layla said. But I wasn't in it. Someone pulled me out. Left me in an alley to die. I survived. You weren't supposed to, Tommy stopped himself. I wasn't supposed to what? Layla moved closer. Survive? Was that part of the plan? Kill everyone except me because killing the betrothed daughter of two powerful families would have started a war you couldn't win? Tommy said nothing. Tell me who pulled me out, Layla said. Tell me who gave the order to spare me. Tell me everything and maybe I'll let my fiancé here give you to the FBI instead of doing what I really want to do. What do you really want to do? Tommy asked. Layla smiled. It wasn't kind. Make you burn the way my family burned. Tommy broke. He told them everything. Richard Wu had planned it all. Joseph Lee had hired the arsonist. But there was a third man. Someone they hadn't found yet. Someone who'd pulled Layla from the house and left her in that alley. His name was Ben Park. And he'd done it because he couldn't stomach killing a child. Where is he now? Adrian asked. I don't know. He disappeared after the fire. Richard tried to find him but he'd gone underground. Adrian recorded everything. Then he called the FBI. What are you doing? Layla asked. Keeping my word. I said I'd turn him over. I didn't agree to that. Layla. He helped murder my family. Her voice shook. Her hand pressed against her wrist, covering the tattoo. He doesn't get to walk away. He's not walking away. He's going to prison for the rest of his life. It's not enough. Adrian looked at Tommy. Then at Layla. If we kill him, we become exactly what we're fighting against. Maybe I'm okay with that. I'm not. Adrian stepped between her and Tommy. Your father was many things, but he had a code. Justice, not revenge. I won't dishonor his memory by becoming a murderer. Layla's eyes filled with tears. They took everything from me. I know. But killing him won't bring them back. The FBI arrived 20 minutes later. They arrested Tommy Hahn based on the evidence Adrian provided. He'd spend the rest of his life in federal prison. Joseph Lee was arrested the next day. He tried to run but Adrian's people found him at the airport. That left Ben Park. The man who'd saved Layla's life but stolen her memories. The ghost who'd disappeared 13 years ago. Adrian's investigators worked around the clock. Finally, 3 weeks later, they found him. Living under a false name in Portland. Working as a mechanic. Married with 2 kids. Adrian showed Layla the file. She stared at the photos of Ben Park. Of his family. His normal life. He gets to have this, she said quietly. A family. A life. While mine is dead. He saved you. He abandoned me. Left me in an alley with no memory and no identity. If he'd come forward, if he'd told someone what happened, I could have had a life. I could have been raised by someone who knew my family. I could have known who I was. Adrian pulled her against him. Let her cry into his chest. What do you want to do? He asked. I don't know anymore. Layla's voice was muffled against his shirt. I wanted revenge. I wanted them all to suffer. But now I'm just tired. Then rest. Let me handle this. How? I'll give the FBI everything on Ben Park. He'll go to prison too. And then it's over. And then what? What happens to us? Adrian pulled back to look at her. Took her wrist gently in his hand. Traced the tattoo with his thumb. What do you want to happen? Layla stopped. Started again. 13 years ago, we were supposed to get married. Unite our families. Build something together. Yes. My family is gone. Your father is dead. The organizations have changed. That life doesn't exist anymore. No. It doesn't. But I still want you. Layla placed her wrist against his. The tattoos aligned perfectly. Is that crazy? I don't remember loving you as a kid. I don't remember any of it. But I know I love you now. As the man you are. Not the boy you were. Adrian's chest tightened. I love you too. Both versions. The girl I lost and the woman who came back. Then marry me, Layla said. Not because of some contract our parents signed. Not to unite families that don't exist anymore. Marry me because you choose me and I choose you. Yes. They married 6 months later. Small ceremony. Just them and a judge. No press. No announcement. Just two people who'd found each other again against impossible odds. When they exchanged rings, Adrian slipped a thin band onto her finger that sat just below the tattoo. She did the same for him. Ben Park went to prison. He got 12 years. Adrian made sure he was placed in a facility close to his family so they could visit. Why? Layla asked. Why give him that? Because he saved you, Adrian said. Even if he did it wrong, even if he abandoned you after, he pulled you from that fire. Without him, you'd really be dead. Layla nodded slowly. Looked down at her wrist. At the tattoo that had survived 13 years. At the ring that sat beside it. Okay. 1 year after their wedding, Layla stood in front of a press conference. She'd agreed to speak publicly once about her story. My name is Layla Thompson, she said into the microphone. She held up her wrist, showing the tattoo to the cameras. 13 years ago, my family was murdered. I was the only survivor. I lost my memories and my identity. This tattoo was the only thing that told me I had a past. I spent years not knowing who I was or where I came from. And now I know. She paused. Looked at Adrian standing in the front row. He held up his own wrist. The matching tattoo visible. I know I came from strength. From a family that fought for what they believed in. And I know I survived for a reason. To tell their story. To make sure they're remembered. And to help other people who've lost their families find their way home. Adrian and Layla created the Thompson Foundation. Its mission was simple: help victims of organized crime. Provide resources for people who'd lost families. Create pathways for survivors to rebuild. They funded it with $20 million to start. Within a year, they'd helped over 200 families. But the real work happened in quiet moments. When Adrian showed Layla videos of her mother. When they visited the cemetery where her family was buried. When Layla finally remembered something, just a flash, her father's laugh, and cried because it was the first real memory she'd had in 13 years. It's coming back, the neurologist said. Slowly. Trauma-induced amnesia can reverse over time, especially with the right triggers. Over the next 2 years, more memories surfaced. Her mother braiding her hair. Her brothers teaching her to fight. Her father's office. The garden where she'd spent hours reading. And memories of Adrian. Young Adrian with serious eyes. Adrian teaching her to pick locks. Adrian holding her hand during formal dinners when they were forced to act like the perfect betrothed couple. Adrian tracing her wrist tattoo and promising they'd always be connected. "I remember you," she said one night. They were in bed, her head on his chest. Their wrists intertwined, tattoos touching. "I remember loving you when we were kids. It wasn't romantic. It was just, you were my person. My safe place. You were mine too," Adrian said. "And now? Now you're still my person. Still my safe place." He kissed the top of her head. "Just better." Layla laughed. "Better how? I get to actually hold you now. Kiss you. Build a real life with you instead of just following some contract. The contract brought us together. But we're staying together by choice. That's what matters." 3 years after they found each other, Layla's memories were almost completely back. Not everything, some things were lost forever. But enough. Enough to know who she'd been. Enough to honor her family. Enough to choose who she wanted to be now. "I don't want to be part of your organization," she told Adrian. "I don't want anything to do with that life." "Okay. Really? Just okay? You're not going to argue that it's my birthright?" "Your birthright is making your own choices," Adrian said. "If you don't want this life, we'll build a different one." "What about you? I've been trying to go legitimate for years. Maybe this is the push I needed." So Adrian started the long process of extracting himself from the criminal elements of his empire. It took 2 years. Some deals went smoothly. Others required harder negotiations. But eventually, he emerged clean. Just a businessman running legitimate operations. Legal. Boring. Everything he'd never thought he'd want. But Layla loved it. And that made it worthwhile. 5 years after that day in the restaurant, they sat in their penthouse overlooking Manhattan. Layla was curled up on the couch with a book. Adrian was reviewing quarterly reports. Both of them wore their tattoos openly now. Never covered. Never hidden. "Do you ever regret it?" Layla asked suddenly. "Regret what?" "Leaving that life. Going straight. Marrying me instead of someone who could have helped you hold power." Adrian set down his reports. Crossed to the couch and pulled her into his lap. He took her wrist and kissed the tattoo. "I don't regret a single thing," he said. "You're alive. We're together. Everything else is just details. Even giving up the organization your father built. My father also arranged for me to marry you. That's the only part of his legacy I care about." Adrian kissed her forehead. "You're my family now. That's enough." Layla smiled. "Good. Because I'm pregnant." Adrian went still. "What? Pregnant? 10 weeks. I wanted to be sure before I told you." He pulled her closer. "A baby. Our baby. No contracts. No arrangements. No crime families trying to unite power. Just us choosing to be a family." Adrian's eyes burned. "Your father would be proud. Your whole family would be." "I know." Layla's hand moved to her stomach. "I'm naming her Sarah. After my mother. Her. I'm calling it. We're having a girl." 8 months later, Sarah Marie Cho was born. She had Layla's eyes and Adrian's nose. And when she was 3 days old, they noticed a small birthmark on her wrist. It was shaped like a cherry blossom. It's a sign, Layla said, holding their daughter. She's blessed by both our families. Adrian traced the mark gently. No tattoos though. No contracts. She gets to choose her own path. Agreed. They raised Sarah in peace. Away from crime. Away from violence. In a world where her biggest concerns were homework and soccer practice and which college to attend. Everything her mother should have had. Everything Layla and Adrian built from the ashes of what they'd lost. Share this story if you believe in second chances. Like if you believe love can survive years of separation and tragedy. Subscribe if you believe that sometimes the people we're meant to be with find us again no matter how much time has passed. Your moment could be waiting. In a tattoo. In a stranger's face. In a promise made before you could understand what it meant. Some bonds are deeper than memory. Some love stories begin twice. And sometimes, coming home means finding someone who never stopped waiting for you. Justice takes time. Healing takes longer. But in the end, choosing love over revenge is the greatest victory of all. Never give up on the people you were meant to find. Because somewhere out there, they might be wearing the same mark. Carrying the same promise. Waiting for the same reunion.